All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever looked at a chart or maybe a logo and just gotten a feeling from it? A vibe? Well, today we're going to break down why every single design, from a super corporate report to a cool concert poster, is speaking a language you might not even realize you understand.
And we're going to kick things off by looking at what's coming next, because the future of design, it's not just about a few new colors or fonts. No, it's about a whole new set of feelings and signals that are getting more and more powerful. It's about finally seeing the code behind the vibe.
So, what does this visual future actually feel like? Let's stop talking in abstracts and get specific. Let's look at the design trends that are already starting to shape the world all around us. Okay, first up, we've got what's called naive design. Now, this is a huge step away from that super polished, pixel perfect minimalism we've been seeing for years. Think irregular strokes, handwritten fonts, a really casual, honest feel. The whole point is to bring a little warmth and humanity back into our very, very digital world. Then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have this acid blur. It's like it takes those soft, dreamy gradients you've seen everywhere and just cranks the dial all the way up to 11. We're talking electric, almost vibrating colors just melting into each other. It's a vibe that feels super energetic, maybe a little rebellious, and 100% futuristic. And hey, speaking of rebellion, let's talk about the punk grunge revival. This look is just pure, calculated chaos. Think worn out textures, grainy photos, and type that looks like it was cut out of a magazine. It's designed to feel totally raw and anti-establishment, channeling that 90s spirit. But, and this is key, with the precision of today's digital tools. So you've got this childlike simplicity right next to futuristic neons and 90s chaos. It seems like it's all over the place, doesn't it? But what if it's not? What if there are some fundamental rules that make all of these styles, even the really chaotic ones, actually work? Because behind every trend, it doesn't matter how wild it seems, there are these timeless principles. They're like the invisible architecture, holding the whole thing together, whether it was designed in 1996 or 2026. So let's break down a couple of the most important ones. First up is readability. And look, this is not just about whether the words are blurry or not. It's about how easily your brain can actually process the message. Does it just flow naturally, or do you feel like you have to kind of fight the page to understand what's going on? A really readable design makes it all feel effortless. And that's totally different from legibility. Legibility is much more basic. It's simply about how clearly you can tell one letter apart from another. Like, can you easily see the difference between an L and a 1? That's legibility, and it all comes down to the font's design, the spacing, and the contrast. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You can have a font that is perfectly legible. I mean, every single letter is crystal clear. But if you cram it all into a huge, dense block of text with no breaks, the readability is just terrible. You can see the letters, sure, but you can't easily understand the message. You need both. The best designs absolutely master both. These principles all work together to build the foundation of any good design. A grid gives it structure so it doesn't feel messy. Color sets the emotional tone. And typography, like we just saw, delivers both the words themselves and the feeling behind them. These are the essential building blocks. Okay, so we've got trends and we've got rules. But what if there's another layer to all of this? What if every font choice, every color palette, every single layout is sending out subtle signals about who made it and who it's for? And that brings us to the real core of this whole thing, the vibe. That gut feeling you get from a design isn't random at all. It's actually a hidden language, and it's packed with social meaning that communicates way more than just the words on the page. Now, the fancy academic term for this is the socio-indexical function. I know, it sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. Think about a spoken accent. An accent doesn't change the actual words someone says, right? But it does tell you something about where they might be from. Well, design features work exactly the same way. They point to social identities. So let's put this to the test with some fascinating examples from a research study. Take a look at these two charts. We've blurred out all the text, so all you can see is the style. So what kind of person or organization do you think made each one of these? Just go with your gut. Okay, you got your guess? Here's what people in the study said. For the chart on the left, hardcore Microsoft Office vibes. A bureaucrat made this. And the one on the right? They called it the graph equivalent of a New Yorker cartoon. I mean, isn't that incredible? Just from a few shapes and colors, people built a complete social profile of the person they imagine made it. Let's try another one. Again, just looking at the style of these two charts, what's the vibe you get? What do you think about the creator's job? Or maybe even their politics? So for the pie charts on the left, people pretty much unanimously said, oh yeah, that's a business presentation. But the line graph on the right, one person said it looked like something a Texas Republican legislator would put on Twitter. Now think about that for a second. Before we even see a single data point, the design has already framed how we're going to see the information and maybe even whether we're willing to trust it. So how on earth does our brain do this so fast? It feels instant. Well, researchers have actually put together a framework for understanding this whole process, for how we decode these visual signals. And it turns out our brains follow a pretty consistent pattern. When we see a design, we make these lightning-fast judgments about the people and the processes behind it. We guess the maker, is it a big company or just one person? We guess the mode, was this made for a fancy magazine or for a tweet? And we even guess the tools they used, like whether it was just made in a simple spreadsheet program. And these snap judgments have huge consequences for credibility. Just listen to this quote from the study. Based purely on the design's vibe, a viewer decided the creator wasn't a real scientist and probably couldn't tell the difference between pop science and serious research. That is a massive judgment call, made in a split second, all from a few pixels on a screen. So, when you put it all together, you've got the latest trends, the timeless principles, and this hidden social language, you start to realize something really important. Design isn't just a monologue where someone is shouting information at you. It's a conversation. The bottom line is this: your design choices are never, ever just decoration. Whether it's the playful honesty of naive design or the raw energy of a grunge revival, every single style is sending a powerful signal about who we are, what we stand for, and maybe most importantly, whether we should be trusted. Learning to read and to speak this visual language is honestly one of the most crucial skills you can have today. Which brings us to the final and I think the most important question. Now that you've been let in on the secret, now that you know this hidden language exists, think about the next thing you create. Maybe it's a presentation for work, a social media post, maybe it's just the font in your email signature. What vibe are you putting out into the world?